Hello there, Josh here. Hopefully you can hear me. A quick run through of the three horses I've had a nibble at today. I thought a quick video rather than writing War and Peace will be a bit quicker for me. I've picked out Pretending from the stats list, which is above this video on the blog. Maybe there'll be a few other winners, but I've had a flick through all of them, and this was the only one my own subjective eyes and pin landed on. Pretending here for Lucy Wadham. The yard's clearly in decent form, as you can see. She actually won this race in 2022. Doesn't have many winners here, and I think that is that winner. Gavin Sheehan keeps the ride. She's only 5. She seems to have taken off at the back end of last season and early this season. She's very likeable. She's very consistent. Decent ground, appears to be not key necessarily, but runs her best with plenty of good in the ground, and I suspect Wincanton will be quick enough today. Plenty of these races here have worked out well, and I've pumped out numerous subsequent winners who are now much higher rated. She won a big field at Cheltenham and did it fairly well from the front under Bryony Frost, and yeah, did that fairly well. Now steps up a kind of another furlong and bit in trip, furlong and a half, and she shapes as if that will suit. She returned 22 days ago at Uttoxeter, won another half decent race. Obviously, at this time of year, it's always tricky because plenty of horses are needing the run, and winning distances can be accentuated and everything else. But she's got a very likeable attitude. Obviously, she's got 11 stone 8 on the back. I suppose that's the one niggle in terms of the actual weight. She's gone up £6, but she looks progressive. She has race fitness. I think she's going to enjoy this step up in trip. She's ever so consistent. The pace map interested me as well. You tend to not want to be held up, which some of these usually are. So it'll be interesting if they're ridden a bit more further forward. You can see their hold-up horses struggle over this course and distance on good ground. You tend to want to be prominent, but being mid-division is no bad thing either. But I suspect Gavin will try and make all. We'll see if the Kieran Burke horse goes on or something else. But he's going to be in the top 2 or 3 all the way round, hopefully dictating. She keeps galloping. She puts her head down. She tries. Like I said, she's fit. The yard are going well. Looks progressive. The form, especially some of it last season, and for mare's level, has a fair bit of substance for me. And she was the one. So we'll see how that one goes. Greyval is a November trainer qualifier. If she's 11 to 1 or shorter, which she may well be, could run into a place. I thought there's a class question. And obviously I've not tipped her. I've had my usual monthly trainer stake on, as I do with them all. But the thing with her actually is the step up in trip, and she does shape as if this 2 mile 5 may unlock plenty more. So could be one of those running on. Hopefully not good enough to run past Pretending, although given I follow my November angles and everything, no bad thing if she does. But in terms of my subjective kind of analysis of this sort of race, well, in this race in particular, Pretending was the one for me, and we will see if that's right or not. Hopefully she outclasses plenty of these and can bring up the hat trick, and we'll see how she gets on. But I thought 4 to 1 was more than fair in that context for all those reasons stated. Let me just jump over to the Badger Beers, which looks like a poor renewal. I have ended up going for Lord Accord at 10 to 3, 7 to 2 on Betfair Exchange. I think there's a shade of value there still. Obviously, top of the market, you want plenty of boxes to be ticked, which he does for me. He bolted up here last time over fences. He's only 4 from 15, 6 places. He lost his way. Well, let me just go back to when he was second to Frodon, off 10 stone 6 in this race a couple of years ago, rated 136. He's 128 here, so on that form he's still well handicapped. Maybe he's not as good, but I don't know. That was a massive effort, and if he hadn't have made an error at the last, he may well have given the excellent, superb, classy Frodon a bit to think about. The front 2 were miles clear that day. He bounces off decent ground, and this Wincanton course should be quick enough, and that raises a question for plenty in this. So that was an interest. He lost his way in this middle bit here. Mulholland, and I think it was around this time, especially, most of 2023, arguably back end of 22, I'm sure they had massive virus issues. There was a problem with hay and a problem with feed. He has spent ages in the doldrums, but in the last kind of half a year, 3 months or so, the yard seemed to be flying again, and I suspect the question of unhealthy horses becoming healthy again. They really did go through a torrid time, but Neil Mulholland's a very good trainer, and it's good to see him backfiring. This season's been fine. He doesn't like soft ground, may well have needed the run. Back over hurdles, a class 2, got outpaced but stayed on, bolted up in a so-so race, but he was 11 stone 12, but he bolted up at Sedgefield, stepped up in trip. He probably needs much further as a hurdler now. And then back here over fences, has bolted up again, a bit further than normal. So a horse that was chasing him down fell clear out, 2 out, but he had him held, and Richie was very, very aggressive that day, and he doesn't need to be that aggressive again here, but he jumped superbly by the last 2, and maybe looking around a bit or getting a bit tired, I'm not sure, but for me he won that fairly comfortably off 1-2-3, a 1-3-5 Racing Post rating, which is his best since that second in this race 2 years ago. It looks like he's back in form, backfiring. You want plenty of boxes to be ticked, like I said, and he is. He's fit, he's in form, he's got a very light weight on his back, he's well handicapped against old form, he has race fitness on his side, which plenty of these have a question. He's better treated than a fair chunk. His race style suits this course and distance, as you can see. Good ground, you need to be prominent and leading generally, and I think he'll possibly have too much pace for these. Richie McClernand is going to be aggressive and boot him out, and I'm hoping he's just on this ground with his fitness and his sharpness, he's just going to get the lead. He just ticked every box that needs to be ticked, I think, especially for going into one at the top of the market, combined with the fact that you can pick holes in plenty of these. Ford Plan and Gustavian were both fairly well beaten in this last race last year, and they don't have good records fresh, although Ford Plan's been nibbled at here to suggest that maybe Honeyball's drilled him. It is a race he likes to target. I suppose he's an interesting one, but I thought the race fitness, sharpness, track position, liking of the ground and everything else was in Lord Accord's favour, and there wasn't too big enough of a price difference for me on that front. I suppose the other one is the Changing Man, who's up there first after a wind up, 2-3-8 days. I'm not quite sure what happened at the back end of this season. Maybe it was the ground, and then Utoxa was over the top, although he still ran second. I think he is well handicapped off 1-3-5 if taking this extra form. Behind Stay Away Faye, he had Grey Dawning in behind. That's obviously turned out into a decent race. If he got back to that level of form, then clearly he might give me a bit to think about. But 25 furlongs around this track is sharp on good ground, and I think there's probably a question there for him. But in any case, again, not a big enough difference at the price. I've gone for the favourite, I still think's value. Whether that turns out to be the case or not, we will see. Neil Mulholland does very well with last time out winners, and I thought Lord Accord is going to give this a good go. Richie McClernand's clearly here for him, and yeah, fingers crossed in what doesn't look a great renewal to my eyes. Finally, the Grand Sefton. I should say I did look at some stats and trends and everything else, and I didn't find much for either of these two races. There are a few pointers for the Grand Sefton, but nothing too great. I suppose, you know, horses that are kind of £4 or more higher than their last start don't have the best of records in this, or £3 higher, I should say. And that's a question for 3 of them. Sure Touch, King Turgeon, and the Rothwell horse at the bottom. But the numbers and the stats aren't exactly great. Having track experience has actually been quite a positive. Those with 2 or more track runs have won 2 of the last 4, having been a race for kind of ones that hadn't raced here too often before. So there's nothing much in that either. Last time out winners don't have a great record in the last 16 years, but they do kind of going back to kind of 1997. And yeah, there's not too much there. I think it's very much a race to just look at like a normal 2 mile 5, 2 mile 6 handicap chase. But my pin has landed on late night pass. 11-year-olds and older horses do well in this race. They do well around these fences more generally. I think with 4 places to play with, he was the one I wanted on side at 8 or 9 to 1. Tom Ellis is now getting going. He's a superb point-to-point trainer, taken out a rules license, 2 from 5, 4 places in the last 14 days. This horse has had a wind up, which may help, and obviously his form doesn't need too much going into. He's lightly raced under rules in the last 5 years, 3 from 9, 5 places, 1 from 3, 2 places chasing. He has a very good record fresh. I'll be shocked, obviously, if he's not been prepped to the minute for this race, and this is a target. He's done very well over course and distance in hunter chases and races that have been quite deep and worked out fairly well, putting up a good record in terms of hunter chase form. I suppose when I compare that to the Greenall horse, who's getting loads of weight, in fairness, his hunter chase form's at class 4, class 5 level, and I don't think he would live with Late Night Pass, or would have lived with him in these races. But of course he's receiving a lot of weight, but that's just an aside. He then ran in handicaps at Cheltenham, held up over further. They're always steadily run, these cross-country races, turning to a bit of a sprint. But he bolted up off 140 in December 23. He's hardly had any goes in handicaps. His Grand National run was eye-catching. He led them after 2 out in what was a decent enough field, and he was level with a few jumping the last before stamina gave way. Maybe his breathing gave out also, given the op they've now given him. But that was a very good run. I don't think anything in this race could lob along and lead, possibly by authorised art, could lob along and lead a deep Grand National field full of 145, 150, 155 plus horses along for as long as he did. I suppose the one question as an 11-year-old, he may be slowing down, but he's obviously lightly raced, is if he has the pace to keep in touch over 2 mile 5 on here. They will walk to the ground well. I'm hoping Gina goes back to normal aggressive tactics. If he can lob along, pings these fences like he normally does, and sits in the top 4 going round here, I just struggle to see, assuming he runs his race, how he's going to be out of the places here. And I thought he might be the one to catch after last. He's obviously got extra stamina. He'll keep galloping. I know that he's tuned up and fit for this, which is a question for the other horse in here. And he was just the one for me. I like Authorised Art. I thought he might run well. He's just got a lot of weight, and I think open to attack from something better treated or more better weighted. And of course it's his first run around here, but I'm intrigued to see how he goes, and intrigued to see what Gary Moore does with him, because they might want to get his mark back down. I don't know, but he might have a half decent handicap chasing him on decent ground at some point this season, and this is probably his sort of trip. I can't say I was lured in by much else. I was obviously Greenall Guerrero won this last year. Gabriel's been kind of well backed. I can see that to some extent. I thought in handicaps had a question, obviously up to 127. Last handicap he hacked up at 133, beat off 122, but the ground possibly, well, no, it wasn't soft. He does well on soft ground, sorry. I wondered if this 2.5 might be quick enough for him also. He obviously gets £20 from Late Night Pass. Maybe that will pay near the end, but I've gone for his proven form around here, his class, and yeah, I had various different questions. Over the rest, I may well have got something very wrong. We shall see. But Late Night Pass for the informed team, given his course form, lightly raced in handicaps, normal track position, given that run in the Grand National, they were all reasons I wanted to have him on each side. And if he runs his race, I'll be shocked if he's outside the first 4. And hopefully he can get the job done and put this track experience to good use. But yeah, with that said, I'll shut up. Hopefully I said something interesting, but that's the reasoning for those 3, and hopefully they can do something and 1 or 2 of them can go in for me. But with that said, thanks for watching. Best of luck with any bets today, and take care.